Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There it is, so you don't miss any of our football content this season. It has been, if I might say, fantastic. College football reactions presented by JLab. JLab has the best audio products in the game. They're ready to take care of you this football season. Traveling to watch your favorite team or just streaming the game at home, find the blue box at Walmart, Target, Best Buy, or go to jlab.com. Love their stuff. The blue box. Okay. So I have said I think Bill Belichick's going to last 1 year in college. And very interesting, his contract, and you know the lawyers went after this big time. There's no way Carolina wanted to give this up. Bill can leave July 1st of next year, meaning he could leave before he coaches a game, a single game. Now, he's not going to, because nobody hires. So he can leave before he coaches a game. Nobody hires at that point. So that's not the point. The point is one and done is very possible. I think he's going to jettison college football. I think he's going to be aggravated. This staff he's building is a pro staff. They're going to rub people the wrong way in the building. It's going to be Charlie Weiss times 10, where Charlie just wore people out. Charlie was a good enough coach, not a great recruiter, wore people out in the building. I don't think this Belichick group fits college. I think their personalities are curt, outspoken. By pro standards, John, it is rough. It's hard. It doesn't work in many pro environments. It's not going to work in college. There was a story Diana Rossini reported that he showed interest in the Jets. And I'm thinking, if Bill showed interest in the Jets, he hates Woody Johnson. This to me, if you look at his drafts, like Urban Meyer, who told me years ago, I don't watch Sunday football. I'm preparing for the next week. Bill doesn't watch Saturday football. Watch their drafts. The minute he takes over the drafts, he doesn't know what he's doing. NFL guys don't watch a lot of Saturday. College guys don't watch Sunday. I don't know. When I saw that Jet story, what did you make of it?
Well, my first reaction was I don't believe it because Bill, it's been his arch nemesis. The hatred was palpable for the last 25 years. He despised the Jets. Then he finally gets a microphone in front of him for the last 6 months. And he'd pick his spots when to be critical and name people. He never hesitated with Woody Johnson. The moment they hired Robert Saleh, he put all his chips in the middle of the table. I would say was as critical of him as anyone in the quote unquote media, especially like NFL type person. And he didn't talk like that about other people. So my reaction was, listen, I know Mike Tannenbaum and everyone reported that, Woody didn't tell people this. Mike, who's running the search, told people, and they've known each other since Cleveland. I have a hard time seeing Bill beg the Jets. And that would be an easy one if you're Woody Johnson. Everyone keeps talking about people or Bill flipping the middle finger and the NFL flipping the middle finger to him, a bunch of FUs going back and forth. This would be an easy one for Woody. Like, let's put out there that Bill was begging me for a job. Because what's Bill going to do? Leak something when he's in North Carolina? It's kind of like he's just off doing something else. Now, if it is true, which, very credible people are reporting this, pretty embarrassing for Bill that he's begging the Jets for interest. Maybe he knows. And that's obviously the contract. I remember Simmons used to write about like when celebrities would date and one celebrity would be way more famous than the other celebrity. It would be hard to maintain that relationship. It would usually end badly when they were both Demi Moore, Bruce Willis, right? Two famous people, they could work. Well, this is Belichick's fame and his football aura is in a different planet than UNC football. So
Right.
he could take advantage of them in a negotiation that never happens at that level. No one would sign a 5-year contract, a new football coach, and put that in. But also, if it is true he's begging Woody Johnson for the Jets job, is he going to have that many more options in a year? Like, what would he have to do if his stock is low right now? Would he have to go 10-2 in year one? Like, could he just go 6-6 and people would think highly of him? I don't know. I actually kind of believe he just might be stuck there and he's just all in. Because the one thing I remember being, I think, in college and reading the Halberstam book, and he can get sentimental only about his father. I think the dad thing means something to him.
Yeah.
And his dad having coaching there, he brought out that sweatshirt that he had from UNC when he was there. So I just don't think they're going to be the potential options. And I just think he might just be stuck there. But you're right. I mean, that was a pretty glaring, like that's not getting put in any of these contracts.
I mean, the fact that he can leave before he coaches a game is wild. I
But
mean,
don't
it's
you think
just,
the $10 million buyout, even to start, is relatively low? They can't fire these guys 5 years in that their buyouts are 50 million.
yeah, it just, I think, I mean, Urban Meyer just didn't fit pro football. I don't think Bill's personality, I don't think it fits college. He was introduced at a basketball game, and it just looked so odd. It was like, oh, this does. And by the way, I've called multiple people that know Bill, and they just can't wrap their brain around it. So I can root for something. I can simultaneously hope he does well. I want to watch the games, but think it could be a mess. It won't be. It's not like they'll win 4 games. The ACC's bad. Their schedule's embarrassing. They get the toughest game they play is Clemson. I mean, it's a bunch of Wake Forest. I mean, those are the tough ones. Syracuse. It is Duke. It's bad. And North Carolina's always had pretty good players, but I don't know. When I saw the Jet story, I thought, wow.
I judge the quality of a fragrance by the compliments you get. When I wore Ovation for the first time, second time, and third time, usually I walk past somebody and they're like, hey, what you got on? Who over there smelling good? That's the injection of confidence right there to you.
That's right. We want to be at the forefront of using the brand as a gateway for these young athletes. Custom suit, we do a photo shoot, we do video, and it's all about that partnership to create a personal brand.
And I love you guys associating it with more sophistication. Throwing a suit on a kid, sometimes it takes for you to see yourself with a suit on in the mirror to be like, hey, I have more to offer.
Ovation for Men, we're part of Amazon's Black Business Accelerator. Amazon has invested $150 million for the next 4 years to uplift small businesses like myself to scale. Amazon is really putting their money where their mouth is.
They're committed to excellence on every level. They want to scale these businesses to be amongst the best in whatever industry they're in.
You've always been authentic. You've always been pushing excellence.
Well, I appreciate that.
As our slogan says, every man deserves an ovation.
Yes, sir.
Listen, this relationship with Ovation for Men, Richard Sherman, the volume, this is just the beginning.
I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of your journey. If you haven't already checked them out, go out there, get your man some. And get the sport too. And it can be Christmas, birthday, holidays, or yesterday. But make sure you get it.
I want to touch on this. So Ashton Genty finished second to Travis Hunter in the Heisman. Now, that's what I would have voted. I think when you have a historically unique player like Travis Hunter who played against much better competition, and my take on college football, in the NFL, it doesn't really matter who you play. If you win your division, you're in. If you qualify for the playoffs, you're in. It does matter in college. That's why there's 4 Big Ten teams in the playoffs, 3 SEC teams in the playoff, and 2 ACC teams in the playoff because the ACC is weaker. So it does matter who you play in college. And Ashton Genty had 270 yards and 6 TDs against Georgia Southern. Now, he was good against Utah State, 186 yards. He was very good against San Jose State and Wyoming and Hawaii and UNLV. He got 3 touchdowns against Oregon. Yeah. I'm not denying any of that. He had 209 yards against Nevada. But it is hard for me with about 80%, because I consider Oregon and UNLV a couple of times pretty solid teams. But it is hard for me in college. Hell, you could probably go every 3rd year and find somebody at Holy Cross, who dialed up big numbers. I do think your schedule matters. I've said this about college football. If your road games, what is your road attendance? If the average road attendance you face is like 33,000, it's different than playing in Camp Randall and the Shoe and Michigan and Autzen. So I wasn't bothered by it. Travis Hunter played against better players. Did it bother you that this kid that's going to go in the first round finished second?
No, I mean, I would have voted. Listen, I got my start out of college in the WAC, which at the time was Boise State, now turned into the Mountain West. It is not the same. And at Fresno State, Pat Hill always would hang his hat on our 3 non-conference games were against Power 5 big-time opponents. It's a different world than playing New Mexico and San Diego State. And listen, I would say he is a universal favorite amongst the NFL scouting community, Genty. Honestly, he's only not because he's like 5'8".
Yeah.
If he was 6 feet tall or 5'11", I think he'd be a lock top 10 pick.
Yeah.
I do think he's going to be a fascinating draft prospect because his tape is like, I mean, it's about as unique and dominant as you'll see, but he's small. I mean, you see a 5'8" running back going in the top 15. That's hard, but I think he'll end up going in the first round. I think Travis Hunter, I bet there are a lot of players, let's just pick the last 20 years, either wide receivers or corners, that if they had played the opposite position, if they were wide receiver and they had played corner or corner and played wide receiver, that they could have been elite and been a first-round pick. And they were first-round pick at the position they played. But we have never seen a guy literally play them both since like the leather helmet days and be universally accepted. He's the number one corner. He might not be the number one wide receiver, but he's a lock if he was only a wide receiver to go in the top 10 or 12. I mean, it's in every single game, and you're watching as the season went on, that it's like, he can't. And then he just would. And it's just 110 snaps, 105 snaps, 112 snaps. And in the Big 12, playing corner, which to me is harder than wide receiver to be good at, because that's a passing conference. So he's running around to be able to play wide receiver, and he dominated at. I also thought, one, he sounded like just a great guy, and he feels like an easy person to root for. If you're Colorado and you pulled the trigger on hiring Deion Sanders, I know year one was a disaster, but in terms of the popularity it brought you, it was a win. To be year two, have your first Heisman since the running back in 94, to go 9-3, to have this guy and Shedeur, which are going to be top 5 picks. I just don't think it gets any better. I mean, it's an all-time turnaround at a program that 90% of the coaches that would have gone there best case this year would have been like 6-6, and there would be no top 10 picks. The guy won a Heisman, and you hear the way, and part of this is why Dion, it's also why I think Bill will be fine in recruiting, is because I think what really, Dion acts like Dion since I was a kid. He was playing. He just acts the same. Right. Now he's just a coach. Like Bill, just be yourself. I think that's why Brian Kelly takes some shit. He kind of acts like he's kind of faking it. He's like being a politician. Like Saban just felt like Saban, right? Kirby just feels like they're very comfortable in their own skin. Even Chip, Chip's kind of ornery. He's not going to kiss your ass, but that's how he's been for 15, 20 years. And I think Dion, it's remarkable what they accomplished. It really is. Now, I checked recruiting rankings before. They're not very high for this next year, but Dion's not big on the high school kids.
He's right.
Big on the portal. So it's hard to totally judge him that way. But I thought it was a really cool moment for just, when are we ever going to see this again, Colin? He starts at 2 positions, corner, non-quarterbacks, one of the harder positions to play, and that's where everyone in the NFL is begging him to play. Like, please play corner, right?
Yeah, I think he'll be a better corner than an offensive player in the NFL. He's 185, 88 pounds. He'll probably be a corner. Because timing is such an essential part of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, it's hard for me to see an elite quarterback saying, yeah, okay, kid, you'll just be here for half the practice. I don't, that's just not, the Bradys, the Rodgers, the Staffords, like Goffs, they want you in on every snap, like the idea that you're going to be on the other side. But I do think if he goes to a really bad team, my guess is the Giants have the
he's going to a bad team because he's going to he might be the first overall pick, Colin.
Well, I think, the Giants, I would say, would take Shedeur Sanders. Vegas could take Cam Ward, maybe Travis Hunter. Maybe, again, I could see Vegas going for Sam Darnold and saying, we'll take Travis Hunter number 2. I could absolutely see that, because Telesco and Cam Ward's interesting. Like, I don't know if that's the personality fit he wants, because Cam is edgy and Tom's not into that. But so my take, though, he's probably, again, for a bad team, play both ways. But I think he'll end up settling as a corner. Am I wrong?
Well, that's what everyone's pushing him to play. But when you look at the contracts, it pays to be a wide receiver, Colin.
That's what I wonder about.
I mean, Brandon Ayuk got 75 balls and he got $75 million and 30 a year. So and if you're good, now I don't know if he's Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but those guys get Nick Bosa money. So financially, now I do think we're going to see, everyone thought that Sauce Gardner was the greatest thing since Darrelle Revis and Richard Sherman. Well, actually, the better player is Derek Stingley. and he's going to be up for a new contract. And I think, and even Sauce, if they get a new coach and he gets back to playing good football, you're talking 80. Now, I think their numbers will get much higher with some of these younger Patrick Surtain, higher numbers at corner that will continue to rise. But the NFL wants them to play that because it's much easier to find a wide receiver. I can find a guy in the 3rd or 4th round who can catch me 80 balls. It's Sauce Gardner and Derek Stingley were top 5 picks. To get the high end guy like Richard Sherman's an all-time outlier, a Hall of Fame level player that you find in the 5th round. Like that doesn't happen very often at corner. Most guys are drafted high at that position. But like, what if he wants to play both ways? My theory on that is I do think physically it's very hard to play corner against every team has good receivers now. So we said it was hard in college to go to the NFL to do it. It'd be hard to, maintain your health doing both, I think, at the NFL level. And 2, if you're a team, if you're my starting corner, one of my starting wide receivers, if you get injured, I lose 2 spots, right? So it's kind of a weird spot to be in, right? It's why I thought one day, well, if you could pay him, could he just shatter records and get this unique contract because he's like Shohei Ohtani? Well, let's say in 5 years he actually does both, and I give him $150 million. Well, then he breaks his leg. I just lost my best wide receiver and my best corner. If Stingley gets hurt, I don't also lose Nico Collins, right?
That's right.
So it becomes a little. Listen, Dion was an awesome player to watch as a kid. They let Dion play some wide receiver to just make him happy, but he wasn't just running out every play with Michael Irvin or Jerry Rice, right? This is dominate at corner, which I think everyone's going to push him to be. But agents and money people go, well, look at these wide receivers, how much money they're making. So I wonder if it's going to be a little, tug of war on the business side. Also, the Shedeur thing. Can you Shedeur in Prime and the Mara family sign me up for that? Because you talk about a team that needs some life. Talk about a lifeless franchise right now.
I text Ian O'Connor, very respected New York columnist, today, and I said, are they going to keep Brian Daboll? Is he safe? And his text to me, without getting into everything he said, was they would like to. But you've got planes flying overhead. They're getting blown out. The Jets, to their credit, they're playing their ass off today. Aaron, the last
playing
2
the Jags.
No, they are. But let me just give Aaron some credit here because I know everybody thinks I pick on him. Just to give Aaron some credit. Let's see. Here we go. Aaron Rodgers. If you go look at Aaron in his last 7 games has 13 touchdowns, a pick, and 100 passer rating. So the Devontae thing, if you watch today, they've got a real relationship now. It takes time. So Aaron and Devontae are cooking. I like their personnel. I said last week on FS1, I kind of thought the Giants had a brighter future, but it looks like to me the New York Giants have quit on Brian Daboll.
I would agree. I thought that game was the Ravens looked like it was a practice. It was a joke. Say this about the Jets, that they threw up a stat, down the stretch of the game. I think they've lost 5 games with 4th quarter leads, and coming into today they were 0-7 in games decided by less than a touchdown. So they have been in a lot of these games.
Oh yeah,
I think people could make the argument is, listen, they were never going to take out the Bills to win the East, but this season could easily be closer to 500 if a couple things go right for them. Now today, because part of it, right? Remember, their schedule started hard and it got easier at the end, and they lost.
So they won 32-25 and had 400 yards of offense.
Yeah, no, Aaron was good today. Like if they got that Aaron, now again, they're playing the Jags, who have an awful defense or just a bad team. But if he played like that, they would be okay. And like you said, Devontae, even Lazard, they had a play that he dropped a ball. Aaron was putting it. One thing I had been critical on Aaron is like, God, has he lost his just pure accuracy that made him such a special player? Today, he was hitting guys in the hands constantly, and he wasn't missing the layup plays. And yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what happens there. They got a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Tannenbaum running this search. I think John Mara, I think he's just hesitant to just keep firing people over and over. But like, what are you supposed to do? Like, this ain't working out.
Yeah, McAdoo and Shermer and Sala.
Judge.
Or not Sala, excuse me.
Joe Judge.
McAdoo, Judge, Shermer, Sala's Jets. Yeah, Aaron went 16-30, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also ran 6 times and averaged 7.5 yards a run. So whereas Kirk Cousins, off of surgery and 40, has I mean, it's gone off the cliff. Aaron's actually, I think last week in a losing cause, last 2 weeks I've watched Aaron, I thought he's been really good.
I would agree. I mean, he's been way better than he was early in the season, which is kind of, I would guess if you're a Jets fan or just someone that like he might be on the team, somewhat optimistic, you would think it would go the other way. Older player, 40, 41 years old, would fall off a cliff as the season went on. He's actually still has a lot of energy. Kind of hit me today watching those two teams because at one point in time it looked like the Jets were going to lose. I mean, Devontae had like 200 yards today. Is it kind of crazy that the NFL is hitting all-time popularity with the Jets and the Giants really for the last decade plus being just atrocious football teams?
I said this recently. The most successful teams in this league are Kansas City, Green Bay, Baltimore, Buffalo. Those are your franchises. The New York teams are a mess. Chicago's a mess. Until this year, D.C., fifth, sixth biggest city in the country, was a mess. A high-profile team like Pittsburgh, not a Super Bowl contender. Like, you start looking around, Dallas, the biggest brand in the league, really regressing quickly. It is remarkable. In the NBA, you've got, New York's viable. I mean, the Warriors are still viable. The Lakers won in the bubble several years ago. I mean, Dallas is good. That's a big market team. Philadelphia is good. Boston's good. Those are big market cities. Houston, another big market, interesting. Hawks playing well in Atlanta. And their ratings are circling the drain. The NFL's biggest markets are a mess. And on a lot of instances, they're unwatchable. And it just shows the power of the NFL. I think there's a lot of reasons the NFL is king. It's relatable. We watch it. We bet it. It's built for television. There's one game a week. As society gets wider and more distracting, it's one game a week. I think that's a huge part of it. But college football ratings are up, and women's basketball ratings are up, and March Madness was up. The NBA continues to just not – I think the load management, I think the aesthetics, everybody's shooting 43s, and I think they have their best players in the wrong markets. But I don't know if a league is bulletproof, but, I mean, I sit around and I can't wait for Sundays. I mean, the early window today was pretty awful. It was the
terrible.
worst. It was the worst early window of the season, but I couldn't wait for the afternoon. And I think that's the power of the sport. It just makes me think about it before the day starts.
I also think the explosion of college football, the NIL, the transfer portal, now the playoffs, you're just watching the incoming talent. So you just get to basically, fans get to scout. It's pretty clear all the best teams have the best players. That's why I actually think Belichick is going to be, I mean, how many big time games I would imagine over the next couple of weeks, they got money to spend, going to land some transfer portal guys. I just saw they kept the best recruit they had in the class was a quarterback. They kept him. Like, if they are interesting next year, that just bleeds into the NFL because it's all kind of layered now, I feel like. It starts on Saturday. I don't know about you. It was nice, actually, to take a deep breath. It's been a long season. But I did also miss, with a lot of respect for the Army-Navy guys. Love the over in that game. Both those two teams have been scoring a lot of points. But I missed just the SEC game or Ohio State or Michigan. There just wasn't anything. It was weird. It was a weird feeling yesterday without it. It really was.
John Middlekauff, former NFL scout, 3 and Out. We do our hour to hour 15. We do it every Sunday. I'm going to go when I watch the Packers. I'm crossing my fingers. I have them -2.5. I do not remember having an 0 for 4 early day. And not only did I go 0 for 4, all of my teams got run. I mean, I was on the raw. I almost picked Denver to win and cover. I got talked out of it. Shame on me. But I've had better weeks.
I dare you to pick the Raiders tomorrow on television. I kind of like them. They're bound to take someone out down the stretch. A weird game. The Falcons are ripe to be taken out.
I thought that about Cleveland today, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. See you, Colin.